Perth has spent its first full day out of lockdown to the relief of residents and businesses. However, there are frustrations surrounding the current vaccination rates, repeat lockdowns and small business support. Joining me live now for more on this is Colleen Hanson from Collins Booksellers in Cottesloe. Colleen, thank you so much for your time. How much of a relief was it today to have trade back to normal at your bookshop?
Oh, immense relief. And indeed, our casual staff who work for us were just very excited to be back in the door, and our customers were extremely happy to see the store in full operation rather than just click and collect and phone orders. And indeed, we had a lovely message on Facebook tonight from a customer saying, thank you for being there through the tough times, but wonderful to see you.
Can you tell me a bit more about that click and collect? It was a bit of a novel idea that you had to keep operations going during the lockdown.
Yeah, well, look, we have had our website operational for some time, but as soon as we moved into lockdown last year, we kind of had to start to do things a little bit differently. So we definitely moved into a focus on click and collect as well as phone orders, and moved into greater digital promotion, so greater Facebook and Instagram promotion, to kind of just keep a little bit of activity coming through the door. Of course, it in no way replaces all of the sales that we lose through these times, but at least it kept some things going. And indeed, for customers, actually, it was really a good activity for them, because they could actually receive some books. We do free local delivery as well as free postage in Western Australia, so that was a couple of other things we introduced last year. And so for our customers then to get books that they can enjoy during lockdown, particularly when they have children at home, they can enjoy books and puzzles. That was a bit of a relief to them. So as I said, look, great bit of activity for us to do. Certainly doesn't replace our regular sales, though, unfortunately.
No, certainly not. And this is the fourth lockdown for your region. Do you agree with the state government over there, the approach that they've had to the lockdowns?
Yeah, look, they're difficult. It's a really difficult time, particularly for small businesses like ours and our casual employees. Very, very tough. However, a necessary evil. So for the greater good of the community, we kind of have to do it at this stage. Unfortunately, it doesn't really solve the problem. So thinking that we can contain a virus and just keep going to these snap lockdowns doesn't really solve the problem. So it would be far better for us to be able to see a much quicker response in terms of vaccination. So it would be far better if we could have a more orderly and more timely response to get the population as fully vaccinated as possible. I noticed yesterday, I think the latest reports from the OECD show us that we're sitting at number 38 out of 38 OECD countries in terms of full vaccination. That's about 6% of our population. That compares, for example, to Turkey, who's got 3 times the rate of vaccination as we do. Some of the Scandinavian countries up around 30%, the US and the UK up at 50%, and topping the ladder, Israel and Iceland at sort of 60%. We're sitting down there at only 6%. So for us, really to get back to full trading and for everybody to be in a safer position, we really need to have a far better approach to vaccination.
And I think there in Western Australia specifically, the vaccination rate is at 8%, so still those quite low numbers. Now, Colleen, we did hear today that the Premier is talking about potential funding or small business grants, a bit of a hardship package for this latest lockdown, but can't commit because of the uncertainty surrounding things at the moment. Do you qualify for any grants, or are you pushing for any sort of economic support in that respect?
Look, the last lot of grants that they had, we did not qualify for. Really, that was for those who had perishable goods that they couldn't replace. So somebody like us, where we actually, have to order our goods well in advance, a good couple of months in advance, and we still receive them, we still have to pay for them. We don't get the opportunity to have any of that sort of support. So I dare say there's not much on that front that's likely to come through. We did qualify for the electricity rebate last time, which was a help. $500, not much when you're losing thousands of dollars out the door, but certainly, some form of contribution. Look, I think it's also difficult for even others like sole traders. I mean, my daughter, for example, is a sole trader in the dance and yoga space, and actually doesn't qualify for any sort of support either. So I'll be interested to see what they can come up with. A little bit of something is better than nothing, but it certainly is not going to go anywhere near replacing the lost cash that we've just gone out the door.
Certainly. And just finally, Colleen, just on a lighter note, there are still some Australians over in New South Wales still in lockdown. You seem very knowledgeable with your books. What genre would you recommend for people who are trying to pass some time reading in isolation still at the moment?
Well, look, there are lots of great books out there at the moment. And in fact, one that's really popular in the last couple of days is Norman Swan's book. So Norman Swan, who's our, the kind of the trusted man of the moment, if you like. And in fact, I think it's even just behind me on this side. Yes. So you get out the Norman Swan. We Were Not Men is a very good read. There's certainly lots of great Australian fiction that you can delve into. So if anybody hasn't read Trent Dalton, for example, which is one of last year's great sellers, great time to do it in lockdown. But also lots of good non-fiction out there as well.
Some great advice. Thank you so much for your time, Colleen Hanson from Collins Bookstore in Cottesloe, and good news that you're open and back to business.
Yes, and thank you for having us on the program tonight.